Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are sharing today from the Zohar portion portion Chukat. We are in volume 18 in the English Zohar and page 270, starting from the beginning. All right, go ahead, Ellen.
Rabbi Yossi draws a distinction between the Torah itself, that is Zer and Pin, and the law of the Torah, that is Malchut. Rabbi Yehuda says that the verse, and this is the Torah, means a union of total perfection, including male and female, but the verse, this is the ordinance of the Torah, means Malchut without Zer and Pin.
וידבר השם אל משה ואל אהרון לאמור, זאת חוקת התורה אשר ציווה השם לאמור וגומר. רבי יוסף פתח, וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, תחזה מילים דאורייתא, קדישין אינון. ילאין אינון מתיקין אינון, כמה דכתיב הנחמדים, מזהב ומפז רב ומתוקים מדבש וגומר. מאן דהשתדל דאורייתא, כאילו כאם כל יומה על תורה, דסיני וקביל אורייתא דכתיב היום הזה נהייתה לעם וה או כמוה חוויה.
And Hashem spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, this is the ordinance of the Torah which Hashem has commanded. Rabbi Yossi opened the discussion saying, and this is the Torah which Moses set before the children of Israel. Come and behold, the words of the Torah are holy, lofty, and sweet, as it is written, more to be desired are they than gold, and much fine gold, sweeter also than honey. It is as if whoever studies the Torah stands every day at Mount Sinai and receives the Torah. This is what it says. This day you are become a people. That's what it says. And the friends have already set the explanation.
כתיב אחז זאת חוקת התורה וכתיב וזאת התורה, מה בין האי להאי, אלא רזה אלה הוא. והחיו לפנה וזאת התורה להחזאה, קולה בייחוד אחד ולהכללה כנון יוד בקודשה בריחו, להשתכחה קולה אחד בגיני כך וזאת התורה. מהי תוספת ו' אלא התמר להחזאה לכל אחד. בלה פירודה וזאת כלל ופרט כחדה, דחר ונקובה ובגימל כך וזאת התורה ודאי, אבל זאת בלה תוספת ו' חוקת התורה ודאי, ולה התורה דינה דאורייתא, גזרה דאורייתא.
It is written here, this is the ordinance of the Torah, and it is also, and this is the Torah, but it is not written, the ordinance, which is the difference between this and that. He responds, it is a lofty secret, and that is what we learned. The words, and this is the Torah, are to show that all is in one unison and to unite the congregation of Israel, that is Malchut, with the Holy One, blessed be He, that is Zer and Pin, so that all will be one. Therefore, and this is the Torah, why is there the addition of and to this? It is only to show that as we are taught, all is one without division. The words and this indicate the general and the particular, namely male and female combined together. Since Vav is male, that is Zer and Pin, which is general, and this is female, meaning Malchut, which is particular. Therefore, it is assuredly written, and this is the Torah, to indicate Zer and Pin and the Nukva in one unison. However, this, without the additional Vav, is specifically the ordinance of the Torah, which is Malchut, that is considered the ordinance. And it emanates from Zer and Pin, which is considered the Torah, but it is not the Torah itself, which is Zer and Pin. It is only the law of the Torah, the decree of Torah, which is Malchut.
תחזה זאת אשר ללוויים ולה וזאת דהה מסתרא דדינה, כעטיין ולה מסתרא דרחמי. אמר רבי יהודה, והכתיב וזאת עשו להם וחיו. ודע ולוויה יתמר ואות אמרת זאת ולה וזאת אמר לו ודאי אחי הוא. וקרא מוכח מן דאחיד סמא דמותה אילה ירב בסמא דחיו. הוודאי ימות ועל דה וזאת עשו להם וחיו, ולא ימותו, בגין דסמא דחיה מאוהב, בעדה וזאת עשו וחיו ולא ימותו. ודאי וזאת יצטריך להוא ולה זאת, בגיני כך וזאת התורה ממש. בייחודה חד, בייחודה שלי עם כללה, דדקר ונוקבה ו' זאת ה' בלכודוי ועל דה זאת חוקת התורה.
Come and behold, it is written, this is that which belongs to the Levites. It is not written, and this, with a vav, since they emerge from the side of judgment, which is from the left side, and from the side of Malchut, that is erected from the left, and not from the angle of compassion, which is there in Pin. Therefore, this is written without a vav, meaning Malchut without zer and pin. Rabbi Yehuda said, yet it is written, and this do to them that they may live. Here, this is with a vav, and it is said about the Levites, and yet you say that the Levites are the aspect of this and not of and this. He said to him, it is most certainly so that they are in the aspect of and this. The scripture proves that whoever holds on to deadly poison spices, but does not blend it into life-giving spices will certainly die. Therefore it is written, and this do to them that they may live, meaning that this, which is the secret of Malchut, considered the tree of death, should join with Vav, which is there in Pin, the tree of life, and not die. This is because the spice of life is mixed with it. Therefore, and this do to them that they may live and not die, since they require and this and not this. Therefore, the verse, and this is the Torah, indicates that it really is actually in one union, a union of total perfection, male and female in one inclusion. That is the secret of Vav He. However, this alone without the Vav is a He alone without a Vav. That is Malchut without Zer and Pin. About this it is written, this is the ordinance of the Torah.
Thank you. So let's take a minute and share what you're getting from the three verses that we just read. Yes?
Well, I'll mention a couple of things that came to mind. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, basically, there's a lot there, but it's talking about the balance of Malchut and Zerampin, of male and female, and that tree of death and tree of life. It's like the total balance in everything is male and female. In union, I guess, Zerampin and Malchut.
Okay, what else? So the Torah starts with Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe ve'el Aaron. And so God speaks to Moses and Aaron. לאמור, as to say, זאת חוקת התורה. Those are the laws of the Torah. אשר ציווה השם לאמור. That God sort of prescribed people to follow. And here it says that the Torah is holy, lofty, and sweet, and it is sweeter also than honey. And whoever studies the Torah stands every day on Mount Sinai and receives the Torah, because the Torah represents something that is holy, lofty, and sweet, and even sweeter than honey. The Torah, when we speak about Zeir and Pin, because this is a metaphor for the Torah, it represents sorts of the upper world without, I would say, all the negative spices of Malchut. Somebody that is elevated to the level of Zeir and Pin can live on this planet and can live on the level of Malchut, but his life would be basically what the Zohar and what the Torah is describing as lofty, sweet, and even sweeter than honey, that no matter what happens, no matter what you're looking at, you would see sweetness, you would see softness, you would see compassion, you would see love. Now, it's very hard to imagine if you turn on the news to conceptualize something like that. So that's not what the Zohar says. And by the way, if we are turning on the news and we see all the chaos that is going on, and if we are a human being, and we are human beings, and we turn on the news, we'll get dragged emotionally into what's happening. With anything, there is like a multitude, just pick and choose what is on any news channel, and each and every single one of them is going to pull us in different direction to instill fear and to show us how much division and how much hatred and how much disrespect and how much neglect there is in this world. But here we have the commandment of the Torah. So this is the purpose of the Torah. If God ever gave the Torah to the people, to all people, this is its purpose, is that not only the Torah would be soft, lofty, sweet, and holy, but it would be sweeter than honey. Talking about our lives, this is how our lives are meant to be. Now, every time that we let ourselves, by choice, we are choosing to let ourselves be dragged into a topic that's going to aggravate us. We can choose not to listen, we can choose not to watch, we can choose to, I'm not saying like to go back to live in a cave, but we can pick and choose what it is that we eat. We can pick and choose who we talk to, who we go to coffee with, who we go to a movie with. We can choose what to read, we can choose what to listen to, and we can choose what music I like, we can choose what show I'm going to watch. And likely the chances it is going to affect if my life is going to be sweeter or my life is going to be bitter. And I could end the class just like that, because this is what the message of this week is about. The Torah is not about a series of laws that we are meant to follow by the letter. Unfortunately, Chukat, when it is done religiously, that is when it turns into idol worship. What is the idol worship? It is what you would have initially started to do to get your act in check, to do things right, to check all the boxes from all the mitzvot. There are 613 precepts that we can follow. And then there is like the 10 massive commandments that we call commandments, but it is not the exact translation. And so If a person just follows his entire life, those precepts, at some point, that person is going to fall into a routine. At some point. There are multitude of countless of documentaries of religious people in Israel. I'm talking about ultra religious, more religious than you ever witnessed at the Kabbalah Center. They are like, like the things on the side, the big hat, the long, like the whole thing. And there are documentaries of men and women alike that live a double life. I'm not talking about everybody, obviously, but there is an increasing number of those people that were born in this environment, and that is the only thing that they know. It's not like they've been introduced to the outside world from their community, from their prayer books, from their midrash, their mishnah, their Talmud. There is no such a thing. They don't even have a smartphone, so that God forbid that they're not going to, watch porn or erotic pictures. They have like the phone that folds itself, like from 20, 30 years ago. And there are all this increasing number of people, and I'm not necessarily talking about young people, 18, 20, 25, whatever. I'm talking about married people. Married people with children, and when you're talking about children, they don't have like 1, 2, or 3. They have 12 or 15 per couple. And there is no divorce, or rarely. There is no such a thing. And you have those people whose soul is choking out, screaming, yelling for freedom, because what it is that they have done all those years checks all the boxes, but it is not the calling of their soul. It is not what their soul feels like it is connecting, and it is replenished, and this is what they were meant to be born for. Not necessarily saying that the other choice is right, by the way, but the contrast. That when we're talking about Chukat, all the laws and all the precepts that came afterwards from the oral teaching, from all the Tanaim. The Tanaim are basically those that carried on orally the teachings of Moses from generation to generation and did the best that they could. I don't even know if the Torah, the way that it is written today, is the exact same Torah, letter to letter, as it was written 3,400 years ago. I don't know, possible. But we'd like to believe that that's the case. But Chukat was never meant to give to mankind the ability to follow rules, and this is what is going to make you live a life that's going to be sweet, sweeter than honey. It's going to be full with fulfillment and rejuvenation for the soul, that the soul is experiencing bliss, heaven. This is really what the Torah is representing. It is representing lightness. It is representing being simple. It is representing no judgment. It is representing Zeir and Pin. But like anything that is being interpreted on the level of Malchut, you can have both sides. If you are tapping into the Torah and into the scriptures from an elevated state, no matter what you would read, each and every single letter in the Torah would be an explosion of epiphanies and revelations. The same as in the Zohar. It says that the Ari was not sleeping for 2, 3, 4 nights in a row until he was not able to completely channel the true meaning of one sentence from the Zohar. We just read 3 paragraphs, and we're doing the best that we can to tap into like a spark of an understanding that is not necessarily even the understanding of what Rabbi Shimon meant. But all we can do as human beings is the best that we can do. And if the intention is there, I believe that the outcome has to be good as well. And so the Ari would put in so much effort, sweat, to decipher, to interpret, to channel what Rabbi Shimon meant. And if it didn't click like as if it was the biggest epiphany for him, he wouldn't stop. He wouldn't stop. But that is to say that every letter, every word from the Zohar, every letter, every word from the Torah is carrier, channel, chariot of light. So we read through it, we scan through it, whatnot, but we need to know that simply the fact that we're given this tool to scan, to read the Zohar is a unique, wonderful, great tool that I wish more people had today. And so this is why very often the Rav used to say, it's oftentimes better that you do not understand what is written in the Zohar. It is better actually that you don't even read all this translation. Why? Because the mind, which is the biggest gate to both realms, the realm of Malchut and the realm of Zeir Anpin, to take us up and to take us down. From the moment that the mind would say, oh, now I understand it. We are so limited. There is so much more that is available from the understanding of whatever. And I know that Ellen struggled a couple times with the translation because whoever translated needs some English lessons because the translation is not so good. But we get like the gist of it. But it's better from an intellectual, spiritual, energetical level that we do not attempt to understand. We can, from our level, we can read just for the sake of having something on top, like an additional connection. But to remain open that my level of understanding is just like a spark of a spark of a spark of a spark that is compared to the infinite, it's representing really nothing. So as best as I can, read and study the English, but at the same time, remain in that place that whatever I got is great and I enjoy it and I keep on going and I keep on coming back every week to do this. But it's so little compared to what the Zohar has to offer. And so the Zohar here is talking to us about the Torah. And by extension, the Zohar is also Zeir Anpin because it is a funnel to connect us to Zeir Anpin. And so every time that we connect, it infuses, it injects that simplicity, that light into our hearts and removes a speck, removes a layer of Chukat. But not the Chukat that was truly meant from God, but the Chukat that became in the hands of human beings. That is rules, that is religion, that is commandments. The Chukat in the hands of human beings has become a tool of control and manipulation. The Chukat in the hands of the light force of the Creator was to put in our hands a gateway for endless fulfillment. And if there is just in a very few words what our life is supposed to be, is simple. And as the Zohar talks about the Torah, it actually talks about our life. Our life is meant to be holy. Our life is supposed to be lofty and sweet. Our life is supposed to be sweeter than honey. And anything that is interjecting, anything that is coming as an obstruction, and oftentimes it's not, we think it's the outside, but it's not the outside. It is our inner limited belief systems that I think low of myself. And as a projection, the universe, life, is justifying how lowly I think of myself. So at the end of the day, we think, and we can always blame the outside world for how, whatever the adjective is, not so good, but it is all an internal realization that anything that comes disturbing that holy plan, this is the only plan. God has only one plan, that we live a life that is sweeter than honey. And anything, any belief system, any thoughts, any emotions that is coming to trouble that is an invitation to each and every single one of us to say, it's not worth it. That's gonna poison my sweet like honey life. It's important, but that's not for me right now. It's not serving me. We have to come more and more to that resolution, to those resolutions. This does not serve me. So again, we're not going to close ourselves in a cave. Let's stay all out. But we have the power, we have the ability to recondition ourselves and to recenter ourselves to what our main essential goal is. What is the purpose of our life? The purpose of our life is to have a life sweet as honey, to be completely fulfilled. And anything that would try and come to disturb that has no room for it, has no room in my circle of life. That is probably very drastic because we're dealing on a daily basis with a lot of things that are coming to disturb that inner peace, that goal of having a life sweet as honey, but it starts with one thing at a time. And as we add another stone and another word and another sentence and another decision that's gonna weed out the things that are not serving me, on a weekly and on a daily basis, I would start seeing this betterment for that goal that is to sweeten my life so that my life can be like honey. That's the idea. Question. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And I'll see you next week, God willing, same time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Very powerful to start Monday. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Yehuda.
Very, very welcome. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.